So up behind me there is Majors Bay Road and the Concord shops. And this is Queen Elizabeth Park. So let's assume your family lives up the road here at Patterson Road, and your kids can ride down the new path and through the park. Well, I'm going to set my GPS and let's see how far it is to school. Google Maps thinks it's about 500 metres, and that was about right. You just got to remember though, when you're thinking, oh my God, that's a long way for kids in primary school to walk. Well, I've still got one kid in primary school and he walks 1.3 kilometres each way. Now I know that's probably a bit of an outlier at the end of the spectrum, but it's quite capable of that. You see kids riding around the Bay Run all the time who are 6 or 7 years old. They can do a 6.7 kilometre lap of the Bay Run. So I think they're more than capable of walking somewhere between 500 metres and a kilometre each way to and from school. You know, there are a lot of them are a lot fitter and more athletic than you think, and it's quite crazy that parents think, oh, my kid can go and play 40 minutes of soccer running all over a soccer field, but oh no, he couldn't possibly walk 500 metres to school. It's a mentality that people need to get themselves out of. This is the last bit of the ride coming out of Queen Elizabeth Park. It's quite a nice ride through the park, and it's going to be even better once the pathway is done up as part of this project. It's going to be widened and probably smoothed out quite a bit. Now, I was very lucky when I came off here that there was no traffic either way, so I just went on to the existing cycle path and I was able to just zip straight across the road without having to stop for anything. But in terms of whether parents would be willing to let their kids ride to school unaccompanied across that road, well, I think that's another matter entirely. And you can see from there it's pretty cruisy up here. You know, this is Saturday afternoon. It's very quiet. There's no traffic around, and we're at the school almost before you know it. Now, I don't know what this is like during a school day with lots of parents dropping their kids off, etc. But it was pretty good for me. We made it Concord Public. It took us about 2 minutes, 470 metres from the corner. So assuming people living up on Majors Bay Road or whatever, maybe 800 or 900 metres. It's an easy walk for a primary school kid. But big question is, would parents be happy with the kids crossing down at Stanley Street? I just extended this a little bit to show that it's really quite possible for kids who live to the north of Queen Elizabeth Park to walk across to Concord Public School. This is saying it's about 800 metres coming down Patterson St from one of the cul-de-sacs up towards Henley Park. Now, at that distance or maybe a bit further, kids could easily ride as well. That's not beyond the possibilities of primary school kids, that's for sure. Before going on, just remember that I filmed this on a Saturday afternoon when the roads were relatively quiet. Have a look at this next bit and then consider whether you think the proposed crossing is safe enough for primary school kids. If you think I'm nuts, just consider that the gold standard for a safe cycleway is that 8-year-old children should be able to use it unaccompanied. I know that will freak a lot of helicopter parents out completely, but think about the Bay Run for a moment. That path is so safe, toddlers can ride or scooter around it. I suggest that a key indicator of whether this cycleway is successful is if kids who live to the west of Queen Elizabeth Park start using it to walk, cycle or scooter to and from school. I was able to do that when I was a kid, and I don't see why kids today shouldn't be given that opportunity. All that's required is infrastructure that maximises safety for vulnerable road users. If you think kids should be accompanied to and from school, how would Grandpa cope with shepherding kids back and forth across this road? Would an 80-year-old grandparent, who probably has fading sight and hearing and isn't as fast as they once were, be able to get across here safely during morning rush hour with their grandkids? course, the utterly insane thing is, this is probably a controlled pedestrian crossing during school days with a lollipop person. So you get a beautiful, safe crossing outside the school where traffic's pretty quiet. But if you want to come across from the park down there, well, you're on your own. Is that really a good idea? You know, how are you going to get kids coming from over there unless you give them something of this standard or better? The fantastic thing is we don't have to look far for a good, safe design for a crossing. Just look at the last map and the crossing that's proposed for Henley Marine Drive. Why not just adopt these crossings everywhere along the cycleway and upset the modal hierarchy so the vulnerable road users are on top and drivers are on the bottom?